What's up, folks at home? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a dive into a controversial bait, but a bait that I'm kind of excited about. This bait hit the market middle of last year. I just now got my hands on it. We're going to hit some underwater footage on this bait today. You can guess what it is. It is the Berkeley power bait Nessie. So let's head underwater and we'll check it out. Alright guys, so the power bait Nessie, as you can see right here, comes in 3 different sizes, and it effectively is a soft glide bait, right? It's got big eyes on it, it's got decent color schemes, got a brush tail on it. The interesting part about the rigging here is it's got that internal harness with a swivel to a treble hook when it's got a clip right there. So this comes unclipped, if you will. And then it's got a nice hook slot right there. This goes back up in there. A lot of people in the swim bait community have criticized Berkeley because this bait is seen as kind of a knockoff on an already existing swim bait and an already existing thing, but I don't get controversial. There's controversy in the world about everything in the world today. I just like to look at baits and see how can I use this to make my fishing better, right? So right here we have the 7-inch version. I got the 7-inch because if I'm truly gonna throw this bait in a tournament setting or to catch a lot of fish, I feel like if I go bigger than 7 inches, it's really going to degrade the amount of bites. It'll upsize the bites that you get, but the amount of bites that you're going to get is going to be less. Now, right here we have the 7-inch variety. It's a 1-ounce bait. It is 7 inches long and a slow sink. Now, this bait is designed with all kinds of internal harnessing, and it's got these plastic fins on the bottom of it right here, if you can see that, to really kind of stabilize this bait in the water. But we're gonna head underwater and we're gonna take a look at this bait and see what it has. Now, as you can see right here on the underwater video, this bait kind of has a lazy glide. It's not a hard glide, right? It's got a nice back and forth glide if you're giving chops to it, so it's almost like that KGB Chad that everybody's talking about now, that chop glide, if you will. This bait kind of has a lazy glide, and then you can put some erratic action into that glide. This is a visual bait. 100% I want to watch this bait come back to the boat. This is going to be a shallow water, cover-based glide bait. Now, the things that I like about this one are that erratic gliding action is going to look a lot like a Zoom Super Fluke, but it has that S-turn where it'll turn on its head and almost stare the fish in the face. I have a specific bite in mind for when this is going to be great. This is going to be a great bait to throw shallow when those fish are cruising. If you can throw this bait out in front of those fish, you're going to be able to make contact with fish that normally would swim by a Senko, would swim by a jig, would swim by another swim bait. They're not going to swim by this. It's going to get them to chase and react. 2, this bait is going to be phenomenal around floating docks and docks in general. Around docks, baits with drawing power are gonna pull fish out. And I already fish a lure a lot like this around docks a lot. Here you have the 7-inch Zoom Super Fluke. And I fish this bait around docks in the summertime and in the spring a ton because it is a pure reaction bite. It is a big fluke, right? That is about 2 inches bigger than a normal fluke, and it is per near the size of this Nessie, right? So we're gonna compare these underwater. The Fluke excels because it's got an erratic glide, slashing, darting action, and bass literally will come up and eat this from a long way off. It's drawing power, right? And it's a big profile under the water. You can see it's got a nice, just clean glide, nice twitch and rip on it. This Nessie is gonna do the same type stuff around cover, and you can skip it up under docks, floating docks especially, or docks with high posts. This is going to excel in those situations. But I really like how similar it looks in the water to the Zoom Super Fluke, something that I already throw. If you haven't thrown a big fluke, you should get one. I recommend a screw lock on the nose, and then you're literally just text posing this hook in there, and it's got a nice erratic darting action. It's great around shallow cover. It's also great, people have been talking about this depth Sakamata shad deep. It's the same concept, right? That nice wandering glide, that erratic action that fish really trigger to and like. So the Nessie underwater, it looks killer. Now, it's not a glide. Let's look at the Nessie next to, you know, here's a bait that's very similar to it in size and stature. Here is the River to Sea S-Waver 168, entry-level glide bait. Very good cover glide right around docks and pilings. I'm going to fish this bait. This bait, profile-wise, looks very similar. The Nessie's smaller, but in terms of, you know, actual glide, this bait is not really a glide to me. It is something very much different. And only time is going to tell how successful this bait is going to be for me. I have a lot of belief that it looks really good, and I know what situations I'm going to use it in. A lot of guys that criticize this bait criticize it for the fact that it is not a hard glide bait, but I don't intend on fishing it like a hard glide bait. Your hard glide bait is something totally different entirely, and that is a whole nother category. The swim bait fishing world is very niche. It's also very dominated by people who have strong opinions and beliefs in certain baits and techniques that they live and die by. When you catch a huge fish on a technique or a bait, you're going to say that that bait is better and cannot be replicated. And swim bait culture is different, right? I am not a huge swim bait angler by any stretch of the imagination. I've just started to dabble in it and adapt it to my own game because I've seen it work in a lot of other places. But I can tell you right now that drawing power on glide baits is an impressive thing. And if this Nessie can harness some of that drawing power, then literally it's going to get some good bites in situations where you normally wouldn't get bit. So let's talk about some negatives with the Nessie. The first thing that a lot of guys see is you get a lot of rolling on this bait, and it's kind of hard to illustrate here, but you see that roll on the twitch. It's because of the weighting of the bait. If you add a Nico weight to it, it gets better. If you fish it faster, it gets better. If you fish this bait exceedingly slow, you get a lot of rolling, and that's because it's not heavy. It's meant to be fished on the top of the water. It's meant to be fished fast, and it's not a slow, methodical glide. It's more like a jerk bait, more like a fluke than it's ever going to be like a glide bait. You kind of have to fish it according to what it's designed to be. This is a bait that's going to excel in spring shallow water. It's also going to excel in low light conditions in the summer. It's also going to excel around docks, right? This is a bait where you're trying to impart erratic action onto a bait and really use drawing power to sucker those fish into biting. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to support the channel, give us a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Guys, go to Omnia Fishing, buy stuff that we're linking here, help support the channel long term, and we will see you guys out there on the water.